Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to do a simple yet, I think it turns out, really cute project. And I got this mold, if you've seen, I don't know, a video or two back, I think it was with the turtle. This is the snail mold from Let's Resin, and I think it's absolutely adorable. So I just had to have it, and they so kindly sent it to me. So what I want to do is I want to kind of go like a neutral pink type look. And the first thing I want to do is on the shell of this snail, it's kind of like ribbed out and it's got the line. So I want to just go along those lines, just the lines. I don't want to paint the whole shell, but just along those lines with the Let's Resin holographic glitter powder in pink. And I just kind of want to highlight those kind of little swirlies that are on the shell. I thought that that would be really cute in kind of tying in this little pinkiness tone into the like natural color of the shells that I'm going to be using. Now these are similar to the ones that I used in the turtle, only these are more neutral shades. And that's kind of the way that I want to go for this one. More, I don't want to say realistic because there are no pink snails, at least not that I know of. But as far as the shell part goes, kind of more of a realistic-ish type color. So I did go over, and then anywhere that the powder kind of went where I didn't want it to go, I just got a Q-tip and some alcohol. And if you can see how I kind of went around just in a thin line, and I just cleaned it off with alcohol. Now I am in my resin, and I'm using Let's Resin's epoxy resin for this. I am adding just the tiniest bit of this pink holographic glitter powder. Now, I've never used it kind of mixed in resin before, so I'm not sure exactly what it's going to do, but it does have, and I'm going to bring it up here in a second. Do you see how you kind of get the pink sparkle in there? So I kind of figured that it's kind of like how I use my Rolio Super Sparkle or the pearl white for that kind of shimmer in there. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this. Okay, so I dumped a bunch of my shell pieces in an empty cup, and I'm just going to kind of slowly add my resin to it. I don't want a line of clear. I just want it pretty much packed in all shells. So I don't want like that layer of clear resin showing because I want to kind of keep this inside the shell, not the actual kind of like sluggy part of the snail. And then I'm just going to spoon this in. Now, there is a high probability for air bubbles, and I'm hoping that that doesn't happen, but when you kind of pack it in this much with the like whatever additive you're using in your resin, you kind of take that chance that there are going to be areas that maybe that resin just wasn't able to flow to because you're not putting enough in there. So it is a chance, but we're going to go with it and see what happens. So I'm just kind of filling it up to where I want it to be. Now, this mold, it's not like you kind of have to angle it because of the way the shell is. And I really, if I can help it, I don't want any of the pink that I'm going to use for the slug part. I don't want that like mixed in with the shell if I can help it. So I need a little bit more. Just going to add just the tiniest bit more and kind of just scoop it in until I feel like I've got it for the most part. Now, because of the way this is angled and the shell is more on one side than the other, I'm going to lean this as it cures. The main part of the shell is the part that's closer to the bottom of your screen. So as this cures, I'm going to kind of lean it at an angle towards the back, if that makes sense. Like it's going to be pulled forward but angled up so that when this cures, I don't have any like resin that's going to go into the actual slug part of the mold. Just kind of like how I'm holding it now, but up a little bit too. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to try and put words to what I'm doing when I'm not actually showing you. But in other words, the head is going to be up in the air as well. Okay? And the butt's going to be angled down more. Just so that if any resin decides that it wants to move, it can just not move. You know what I mean? All right. So I don't show this very often, but when you have bits and pieces of resin that have touched and kind of are little balls, like dried up in balls, and that you don't want that to show, because it will show. If I poured my resin in there, it will show those clear little balls. I just take a piece of painter's tape and I go along and I kind of just clean up with that as best I can so that I don't get those pieces in my work, you know? All right, so this, I don't know what brand this is, but it's kind of like a dusky, kind of pinky color. And I thought that that would go really, really pretty with the color of the shell. So we're just going to mix in some of that. Now, you probably noticed that I did spray alcohol into my mold, and I don't typically do this. I have never used this mold before. And it's got little antennae, feeler, I don't know, whatever they're called on a snail, the little antennae things that are down deep down, and I don't want any air pockets trapped in there. So I sprayed it, and then I realized I hadn't mixed in my color, and I sprayed it again. I am going to pour this kind of slowly, let the resin kind of fill up those little antennae, and then I'm going to squeeze them. You do have access in the bottom of this mold to kind of squeeze out any air pockets, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to slowly just kind of pour the rest of this resin in here until this mold is filled the entire way. I will go in with my silicone tool right right before it's completely filled, just to kind of make sure that, especially right where I'm at now, there's no air pockets that are in there. And I will go along the edges and touch everywhere that the resin that I poured previously and this kind of connect, because sometimes along those join lines where you're pouring, you get like extra bubbles there for some reason. So I'm just gonna, hopefully that won't happen. And then we're gonna fill it up the rest of the way, go around again with my silicone tool, hit it with the heat gun, and then we're going to let this cure, just kind of wiping up a little bit of mess that I made so that I don't have to pick it off later on once it's dry. And then that's it. We're gonna let this cure and see how it comes out. I'm thinking it's going to come out really cool, but we'll see. And I do want to make sure it's domed kind of a little bit, not super crazy domed, but a little bit, so that we don't get any sharp edges when we go to demold and I don't cut myself. All right, so 24 hours later, here we are. A little bit of overpour that I missed, and I'm just kind of finessing it and kind of breaking that suction that's between the resin and the silicone. And then I'm going to spray just a tiny bit of alcohol in here to help with the demold process. Yes, I know, for those of you that want to say you're not supposed to do it, I know, but I'm gonna. And I'm not so worried about this bottom piece. Like, it comes out super easy. Now, the antenna is what kind of worries me a little bit, because they kind of go in there, and I'm worried that then maybe they'll break. So I do squirt a little bit more alcohol in there just to kind of hopefully help work them out. But it's not too bad. Like, it looks like I'm struggling. I'm just trying to kind of go underneath where the little ball part is on the antenna and kind of like squish it up, if that makes sense. All right, and here we are. It comes out absolutely perfect. Now, there are a couple little, well, a couple big little holes. Um, Easy enough fix. I'm just gonna do that. I do it off camera, but I do fill it with some UV resin just to kind of fill those two little holes that I got, and that's it. Now, looking at the antenna, I don't know necessarily what they're supposed to be, if they're like their eyes or they're just feelers, or I don't know. And I don't know what color they're supposed to be, and I couldn't be bothered to look it up. So I am just going in with my rose gold paint pen, and kind of just around the top where the little balls are, I'm just going to kind of go over that just so that there's a little bit more distinction and color between the actual kind of slug guy itself and the little ball part. I don't know, it's a technical terms. It's a slug. Like, I don't spend that much time looking at them. And then where I put the holographic glitter powder. Now, you can see it, but I want to go over that area again, just with a tiny, tiny bit. So you can see I'm just using the tiniest little bit because I don't need a lot. It's not a big area. And a tiny bit of my gloss varnish. And I'm just going to go over those little swirlies in the shell just a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more pronounced, because I couldn't really see what I was doing when I was putting it on, and it was really hard to get it in the areas exactly where I wanted it. So I'm just going to kind of go over that area again just to add a little bit more to it. And then that's pretty much it. That is the extent of detail work that I'm doing on this piece. I think it turns out super, super cool. I love it a lot. And my daughter has already claimed it for her room, which is becoming very, very resin centered. But anyway, that is a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you on Saturday in the next one. Love ya. Bye.
I crawl slow in the mud, life on a tiny track. Got tentacles, not antenna. Feel the world with my touch. Taste the leaves, feel the rain. I see that you don't know much. Snail life is full of slow tales. Understanding moves like a sail in the garden where I